It is 6 p.m. and that means it's time for some bottom line. JD Dorazio here for you guys for the next hour. Thank you for tuning in to WSYC 88.7 FM Shippensburg, PA. We serve your community. If you're watching on the YouTube, if you're catching up on Instagram, TikTok, however you may be watching, I appreciate you guys for being here. And it's been a minute since we've chatted. Haven't done a show in 2 weeks. Last week we were on fall break, didn't have access to the station on Monday. Got a well needed break after my Phillies crapped the bed against the New York Mets. It kind of seems like old news now, but I'm going to react to the end of the Phillies season. It's actually kind of a good thing how I had a little bit of a break because I was just a mental train wreck after the Philadelphia Phillies lost the NLDS to the Mets. It was just a really bad feeling. So to be able to collect my thoughts and not have an emotional reaction live on the air might have been a blessing in disguise, although I will say it probably would have been very entertaining from a listener's standpoint. But with that, we're going to talk about the Phillies a little bit later. But let's talk about those Eagles. How about those Eagles? Eagles taking care of business in what was one of their most impressive showings, in my opinion, in recent Eagles memory, beating the New York Giants 28-3 at MetLife Stadium. Now, I know the New York Giants are far, far from a contender in the NFL. They're kind of near the bottom of the barrel in terms of where they're at in the rankings, the amount of talent on their roster. But the fact of the matter is, over the past, I would say, so far this year and all of last year, the Eagles have just been inconsistent, and you never really knew what you're going to get from this team. We knew in 2022 when they had the Super Bowl run with this same core that when they're playing at their best, they're one of the best teams in football. But ever since that Super Bowl season, they've just had some troubles to just find that magic. And what I saw last Sunday was shades of what I saw at the beginning of 2023 and what we saw for most of about 2022. They look just really good in all facets of the game. But let's start with the new addition, Saquon Barkley, who just did his thing against his former team. Ran for 176 rushing yards on 17 attempts, got his touchdown, and let's just be honest, everybody, and I mean everybody, saw this coming. Everyone just knew Saquon Barkley was going to go off against the New York Giants. It's just one of those unspoken rules about sports is when a star player goes against his former team, they're bound to go off. It's just a rule that happens. You just have to accept it. It happens in any sport. Bryce Harper did it against the Nats. Obviously, Saquon Barkley did it against the Giants. The only exception to that rule is when Ben Simmons returned to Wells Fargo Center as a Brooklyn Net to take on the Sixers, and where Ben Simmons did Ben Simmons things. His return to Wells Fargo Center consisted of him putting on a leather luxurious jacket and sitting on the bench and watching the game because Ben Simmons does not like to play the game of basketball. I don't know how we're talking about Ben Simmons 4 minutes into the show, but here we are. I'm here for it. But back to the game. Saquon Barkley looked great. This running game looked great, pretty much from start to finish. They are truly finding their identity, and that is by running the rock. People were wondering where Cam Jerkins was going to be able to replace Jason Kelce and was going to impact this running game, and it's not going to. This offensive line, even without Jordan Mailata, who's on IR, even without him, this running attack is still one of the best with football. And when you put Saquon Barkley behind even a decent offensive line, he's going to do great things. And let alone the Eagles' offensive line being one of the best offensive lines in football, they're going to be good. I mean, even Fred Johnson, Jordan Mailata's backup, he had a few good moments as well. They're just that offensive line core for the Eagles have been solid for a while now. And they're continuing to do good things. Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, I mean, those are just big boys up there that you would love to be behind. And this running attack's good, and that's got to be what sets up the Eagles going forward. Because I want to kind of transition into talking about Jalen Hurts, but Saquon Barkley's still involved. But the better they can run the football is going to make life so much easier for Jalen Hurts, who has had some turnover problems so far this year. Now, against the Giants, he took care of the football again, second straight game without turnovers. I'll give him a golf clap for it because I mean, we expect you to take care of the football, but he went 10 for 14, 114 yards and 1 touchdown. Then on the ground, he had 7 carries for 22 yards and 2 touchdowns. The tush push was in full effect on at MetLife Stadium. And again, the numbers aren't going to shout out to you. I mean, only 114 passing yards, 14 passing attempts. But when you can run the football, that's all we need out of Jalen. When this defense is playing good, which I'm going to talk about the defense here in a few minutes, best showing all year, obviously, only gave up 3 points. But when the defense is playing good, when Barkley's running the football, all you gotta do is just get the big guys outside involved. And in this game, it was pretty much just AJ Brown. I mean, I don't think Devontae Smith. Yeah, he only had 1 catch for -2 yards on kind of on a busted screenplay that never really worked. But AJ Brown had 5 catches for 89 yards. Obviously, the big one being the big 30-plus yard touchdown on 4th and 1, which was super super gutsy, a super gutsy play call. I was actually at the Arugas here in Shippensburg watching the game with my dad, and up until that point, I was like, oh boy, here come the Eagles again, just with terrible decisions. And literally, as that play was being formed, that deep shot to AJ Brown, which was literally just a streak route, he just ran straight, and Jalen Hurts just threw it up. I cannot believe that's the call they went to when you only needed 1 yard and you had to keep the drive alive, but they did it, and it worked. And credit Kellen Moore, credit Nick Sirianni. Technically, Kellen Moore is technically considered the offensive play caller, but I'm just convinced that Nick Sirianni is still having some say in the decisions being made. But credit them, because up until that point, the shot was not taken. It was just a bunch of deep passes, or sorry, short passes over the middle of the field to the outside. AJ Brown had multiple 6, 7, 8 yard out routes that they just took what the defense gave them. But until that deep shot, they weren't going deep at all. When they finally did, they made them pay. They picked point their point, and they executed to perfection. So we need to see more of that going forward. Once you get Devontae Smith involved, and again, I want to preface all of this with, I know it's the New York Giants. I'll say it again. I'm aware this is the New York Giants. But here's the argument, because I've seen it a lot online, on the social media boards, on other radio stations, whatever sports outlet you look at. I've seen this argument everywhere, and it's an argument that I don't really like. People are saying, well, this win doesn't mean anything because it's the New York Giants. They suck. I will say they suck. Here's my problem with that argument. For starters, it's a division rival. I don't care who it is. Division rival games are never easy, regardless of the opponent. That's number one. But number two, the problem is, well, they played well against the Giants. It shouldn't mean anything. The problem with that argument is, if this game wasn't close, or if this game was close, and they didn't blow them out, you could have the same argument. Oh, man, they were not able to blow out the Giants. This team's in the gutter. Oh, we're trash. Nick Sirianni needs to be fired. Jalen Hurts sucks. The whole enchilada. If the Eagles played them close, you'd be arguing that they didn't blow out the Giants and they suck because of it. So now we're just going to give them no credit whatsoever for blowing out the Giants. I don't get it. I don't like the argument. I think it's, I'm going to say, I think it's a casual argument. I think if you're making an argument like that, then you're a casual fan. This was impressive what they did. This was impressive. I'll credit Nick Sirianni for once. I don't do it a lot on this show. He gets a lot of flack, but this team looked loose. They looked comfortable. They looked ready to play. I'm not saying they look perfect. We saw some issues with scoring points in the first quarter. They need to figure that out. They need to figure out how to score points in the first quarter. It boggles my mind that they still have not scored points in the first quarter yet. They need to figure that out. But overall, I liked what I saw of Nick Sirianni in the decision-making. His team looked comfortable, they looked ready, and they executed. It's been a while. It's been a really long time since we've seen an Eagles game where you kind of just, put the arms behind the bed, kick the feet up on the desk, kick back, and relax, crack open a cold one if you're of age, and just chill and enjoy some Eagles football without having to be on the edge of your seat with your heart pumping out of your chest. I mean, we're Philadelphia fans here. We don't get that a lot. Usually everything's hard and we have to earn it. It wasn't like that on Sunday. They just outclassed the Giants in every statistical category, which then leads me to the defense. Oh yeah, baby. You better believe it. This defense looked so good. 3 points allowed, 8 sacks. 8 sacks. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. 8 of them. Ocho for my Espanol listeners. 8 of them. N'Kobe Dean had two. N'Kobe Dean, hello, dog. Bryce Huff, I mean, we've been slandering Bryce Huff for ever since he became an Eagle. He finally does something. He got one sack. If you watch the game, it was literally a shoestring tackle where he just kind of just dove at Daniel Jones' foot and softly pulled him down, but it was enough to bring him down. At least he did something. That's a step in the right direction. Baby steps. Hopefully he can build off it next week because we need Bryce Huff. We just straight up need him. Jalen Carter, 2 sacks. Jalen Carter is going to be a problem, y'all. I'm telling you, Jalen Carter is going to be a problem. He is just so good at just making the quarterback's life in the pocket so difficult. I've seen it so many times where they're putting two bodies on because not only is he so agile and quick, but he's so agile and quick with that big frame of his. I mean, he is. I know defensive tackles are big individuals as is, but I feel like Jalen Carter just is like a whole nother tier in terms of just the his presence that he has on the football field. I mean, 6'3", 314 pounds. Like that dude is just he is a problem, man. Jalen Carter is a serious problem. He's going to be in the green for a long time. Long time. Darius Slay goes down in this game, and I love, well, not love. That's not the right word. Darius Slay is okay. If you're listening on the radio, you're not going to be able to appreciate this much. But if you're watching on YouTube or Instagram, if someone were to ask me how much I'm worried or how much I care about Darius Slay being injured, this would be my response. You hear that? That wasn't an error on the audio end. That was just me being dead silent. Darius Slay, big name in football, a very recognizable name, but I don't feel like he's a true alpha in this defense. Obviously, would prefer him on the field, but I'm not really gonna be devastated if he's not. That's just how I feel. Hopefully, he'll be okay though. Cooper DeJean, he's looked great, but Quinyon Mitchell, man, he was giving Malik Neighbors some issues. Malik Neighbors, they were kind of paired up against for the majority of the game, except for some plays. He kind of helped limited Malik Neighbors to the best that any team really has had so far. Only 4 catches for 41 yards for Neighbors. And again, part of that is the defensive line making Daniel Jones just have another horrendous performance. I mean, he went 14 for 21. Daniel Jones didn't even reach 100 passing yards in a game where they had to pretty much pass every play. I mean, the Giants have looked good against some teams. That's why I'm a little uplifted by this performance. The Giants look good against some teams. They didn't look good against the Eagles. They did not look good at all. To put it frankly, if you're the Giants, if you're a Giants fan, I don't even know where you start because the Daniel Jones contract is bad. It really is. But are we sure another quarterback really fixes them? I just feel like there's so many fundamental issues from the owner to the general manager. If you watch Hard Knocks, I mean, the way they handled the Saquon Barkley situation was terrible. The quarterback, the whole roster, like, I think there's really bigger issues than Daniel Jones. I don't think firing Dable and getting rid of Jones is going to fix things in New York. I mean, they've proven that Daniel Jones can make it work. They made the playoffs that one year. I'm not saying you're going to win a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. I'm not going to go that far. I think he's not worth for all the blame of what's going wrong in New York. I really do. But who cares? Because I'm not a Giants fan. I'm an Eagles fan. The longer they're in the gutter, the longer they're just in the garbage bin, I'll take it. Because we're going to play them 2 times a year for the end of time, unless if they end up changing the divisions around. But I forget the point that I was on. Oh, I was talking about the defense. Yes, so Jalen Carter was doing great. Nolan Smith, who I was very happy when they drafted, didn't get much involved his rookie year. His sophomore year, though, he's looked great. And he's getting involved more and more as time goes on. Love what I see on Nolan Smith. And overall, we can credit Vic Fangio for just melding these pieces together. And there's still more work to be done. They've had a couple performances where I'm like, eh. I mean, the Bucs game, they dropped 30 points against them. Obviously, the Falcons game, they had that collapse at the end of the field. But if the offense could do what the offense is capable of, it's going to put this defense in a much better position to succeed. Because a lot in these earlier games, Jalen Hurts has turned the ball over a lot, putting the offense on a short field. And I don't care if you have the best defensive out there. You're going against a fellow NFL team. They're starting multiple drives a game at the 50-yard line. They're going to score points. They just are. But when the offense does their job, this defense is typically having their back, and good things are coming as a result. Again, we talked about the slow start problem. We're far from perfect. We're far from perfect. But all that being said, I was very impressed from what I saw out of my Eagles on Sunday against the Giants. 15 minutes in, and we're talking about the Eagles. We're going to step aside real quick. When we come back, I'm going to have to swallow my pride, and we're going to talk about the Phillies and where the heck they go from here. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Bottom Line on WSYC 88.7 FM with JD Dorazio. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to WSYC 88.7 FM, Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. It's The Bottom Line with JD Dorazio. Here with you for about another half hour here on the station, whether you're watching on the radio, on the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support. Have a little poll on the Instagram actually right now. I'm trying to get more interaction with you guys actually, and I have good news. Next week on this show, I'm finally going to have a way to interact with viewers. I've been getting lots of requests to have a hotline or live calling. It's not going to be able to be live calling, but it's going to be the next best thing. Next week, you can expect a way to call in, add a phone number, and leave a voicemail and have a chance to be featured on the show. I'll have all the details next week. It's going to be great, putting some final touches on it this week. But yeah, exciting stuff coming ahead, so stay tuned for all that. But on the Instagram page, and if you want to check it out, it's just JD Dorazio or JD Dorazio Sports. You'll see it on either one. But on that Instagram, I have a little poll going up on just let me know any topic that involves sports, and we'll chat about it. And I got one about the World Series matchup, and I'll get to that. That was a question asked by James, so we'll get to your question in just a little bit. But to segue into that, we got to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, who are obviously no longer playing baseball. Got eliminated to their rival New York Mets in 4 games, just over a little over a week ago. It feels like it's been a lot longer, but unfortunately, they're no longer playing baseball. If you know me, I'm a diehard Phillies fan. I love Eagles. I love the Sixers. I love the Flyers. But you can mold all of them together, and the love for all those teams combined wouldn't match my love for the Phillies. So when they lost, it hurt. I was in very low spirits. The one thing I say, I can officially resonate with Braves fans for once in my life. So Braves fans, I finally understand how it feels to get bounced in the playoffs by your division rival. It's not a fun feeling. Not a fun feeling at all. So what went wrong for the Phillies? What went wrong? A lot of things went wrong. The bullpen imploding, the entire lineup going cold, Rob Thompson makes some questionable bullpen decisions. A lot went wrong. And we could talk about what went wrong, but I'm more interested in where we go from here. Because we can't live in the past. I mean, this is a reality now where for the 3rd straight year, the Phillies have taken a step back. Obviously in the Series. Make it the entire way to the World Series. And that run was memorable because it was unexpected. It was unexpected. The whole city was rallying behind these guys, and they go on an improbable run to the World Series, lose to the juggernaut Houston Astros, but nobody was upset at that result. We all loved this team. We patted them on their back and saying, okay, now we finally are back with Philadelphia baseball. We had the Utley, Rollins, and Chase, or the Utley, Rollins, and Howard era, and then we were waiting for something to cling on to, and we got it in 2022. We got it with the Harper, the Schwarber, the Real Mutos, the Wheelers. We have our new 08 era, and it's happening right now in 2022. And we were all invested going into 2023. We were ready. We were ready for this team to now, with proper expectations, to get over the hump and win a World freaking Series. And they couldn't do it. They make the wild card again. They make it all the way to the NLCS, and we're 1 game short of the World Series. And they take 1 step back. Well, okay. Well, you were still pretty close. You were 1 game away from the World Series. If Craig Kimbrell doesn't pitch for you guys, you probably guys are in the World Series. So goodbye, Craig. Let's run it back. The vibes are here. We're dancing on our own. Let's do it in 2024 one more time. And it was exactly going how we thought it was going to go at the beginning. We start out as the hottest team in baseball through the All-Star break, come on a little bit of a roller coaster ride that ultimately we never recover from. We plateau after the All-Star break, but you know what? We still win a division. We won a division. We won a division. The Philadelphia Phillies actually beat the Braves and won a division post 2011. Unbelievable. And I think winning that division just kind of gave this hope in everyone's mind that, okay, we're going to raise that division banner and now we're going to start to turn things around. Now our time's coming. Our time's coming. Playoff time, they're going to flip that switch and we're finally going to go all the way. And we get bounced in the first round. Well, the second round, technically, the wild card round, the first round. They get bounced in the first round that they play in. Not only do they get bounced in pretty much embarrassing fashion. They only showed up for one game, and that was game 2. One of the most incredible games I will ever see. I was there at Citizens Bank Park. I was there. It might be the best baseball game I'll ever watch. But no one's gonna. Let me choose my words. Let me choose my words safely here. No one's going to be able to really appreciate that game. People are going to remember that game just because of all the heroics, the back and forth battle between two rivals that can't stand one another. But no one's going to be able to appreciate that game anymore because of the result that followed. The entire offense goes cold. The team just doesn't look ready. They don't seem to have a drive or a fight at all. And to make it all worse, it was to the New York Mets. That's me throwing up. Oh my gosh! It's like I'm still reliving the nightmare. I really am. While we're on the topic of the Mets, thank the Lord, thank the heavens, thank everybody that the Mets are not going to win the World Series. Didn't even make the World Series. I have never rooted for the Dodgers so hard in my life. I'm just so thankful the Mets aren't going to the World Series. I don't know what I would have done with myself if the Mets ran the course. And you know what? Mets fans have bragging rights over us, but you know what? I still can't stand them. I hate this notion. I hate this idea that the Mets were an underdog team, like the dark horse, the team that's just going to rally from no one expected them to do this. They had the highest payroll in baseball, okay? This is the first time in a while where the Mets just lived up to expectations. Okay, they weren't the underdog. We should have had them. We had them right where we wanted them, and we let them off the hook. A classic football coach, a classic football head coach line there, but it's true. It's true. The Mets weren't the underdog. Highest payroll in baseball. They just finally lived up to the expectations, and we didn't. We had the same expectations that they had, and we couldn't live up to them, and they didn't. It makes me sick that we're in a world where the Mets are placed in higher regard than the Phillies. It really does. And I'm a bit more aggressive than usual, and that's because I'm really upset about the result. I am hurting. I really am. This is no hyperbole. It might sound funny. I hope it's getting some entertainment value, but it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. So where do we go from here? That's my quick. It wasn't really quick. It was a lot longer than I was expecting to talk about that. But that's my, for those that wanted a reaction to the series, there you go. So now, where the heck do we go from here? Well, the Phillies had their end of the season press conference with Rob Thompson, Dave Dombrowski, all the people. And we have a couple things I want to talk about. The first is going to be that Rob Thompson's coming back. Here's Rob Thompson on him returning to the Phillies in 2025.
How do you feel about having at least one more year? And are you taking it year by year at this point, or do you look long term? You'd like to keep going?
No, I think year by year is good with me. I've mentioned many times this is the only place I want to be, and this will be my last stop. I am also very happy that our entire coaching staff is coming back, because many managers will say it, but I truly believe that we have the best coaching staff in baseball. They work hard. They care about the players. They respect the players. And they get results for the most part.
So they get results, and for the most part, I'm actually okay with the coaching staff coming back. First of all, I'm happy Topper's back. I know I said everything I just said now, but Rob Thompson was not the reason they lost the NLDS. And I see people saying that he needed to go and we got to get rid of him. No. No. Rob Thompson, Topper, Philly Rob, whatever you want to call him, he deserves to be here. He deserves another year. It's not like he made any really bad decisions. The only really terrible decision was keeping Jeff Hoffman in Game 4 as long as he did, but he tried everything he could. He really did. He tried Strom. He tried Estevez. He tried Hoffman. He tried Kirkering. He tried every tool he had and nothing stuck. He benched Alec Boehm. He tried switching the lineup up, giving Edmundo Sosa some opportunities, giving Cody Clemens some at bats. He tried everything he could. He tried to work around the cards in his lineup as much as he could. He shuffled them in pretty much all the realistic ways he could have, and nothing stuck. That's not his fault. This was on the players and solely the players, and the players need to take accountability, and changes are going to have to be made. Changes are going to have to be made. This core, and it kills me to say, and that's what makes this loss so heartbreaking. This core of the Phillies, and when I say core, I don't mean the team. I mean the core. I'm talking your top 6 players. This core is just not built to win it all anymore. They're not. They had their strong chances, but face the facts. This team has taken step backs the past 3 years. We've gotten worse. I don't care about regular season results. It's great we won the division, but who cares if we're not making anything out of it in the playoffs? And I don't want to hear, oh well, they had a first round bye, like they weren't ready. If they played in the wild card round, they could have kept the momentum. No, that's just not an acceptable excuse. 3 of the 4 teams this playoffs advanced to the NLCS. Guess who was the one team with a first round bye that didn't do it? That's right, the Philadelphia Phillies. The bye has nothing to do with it. The players just didn't perform, and at a certain point, we just have to accept that the Phillies are just a streaky team, a hot and cold team. When they're playing hot, I think they're the best team in baseball, but they just have this strange phenomenon where everyone goes hot and cold at the same time. It's really weird. So now they need to figure out how they need to reload for next year, not rebuild. No, their window is still very much so open, but they need to figure out how to reload for next year. And firing a coach was not going to accomplish that. I can understand if you wanted to fire Kevin Long, maybe, but do we really think a hitting coach is going to make that much of a difference in approach? I mean, seriously. Think of all the top guys on this Phillies team. Bryce Harper, age 30 plus. Trey Turner, age 30 plus. Nick Castellanos, age 30 plus. Kyle Schwarber, age 30 plus. JT Realmuto, age 30 plus. All the guys in this lineup are veterans. They are what they are. I'm sorry, but this whole thing where they need to figure out to change their approach, which is true, they do, but at this point in their career, they are who they are. They are who they are. They need new pieces to interwork with them. I want to keep some people, obviously. I love Nick Castellanos. He was one of our most valuable hitters, maybe our most valuable player the entire second half of the season. I think he should stay. Kyle Schwarber, he's a home run demon. I think he should stay. But like guys like, when you look at it, you're almost picking like papers out of a hat in terms of who's going to stay, who's going to go. And when I was coming to it, I think Alec Boehm, of all people, might be the odd man out. The first time All-Star, one of our guys, one of the members of the daycare, a Philly prospected grown kid, might have to be the guy to go. These older veterans are just going to be harder to move, and you have to find ways to get some new pieces that are going to be consistent so that way they can interwork with the streakiness of their hitters. Right. I hold their breath. Right. Anyways, so I think Alec Boehm is the odd man out, and here's why. Alec Boehm, believe it or not, is 28 years old. And while he's developed as a hitter and as a defender, when it comes to postseason, it seems the moment's too big for him, and he's still a little kid. His antics, the tantrums. He's the only 30th year old, and this guy is still a head case. His antics are ridiculous, and if you trade him now, the value is going to be there. The value is going to be there. Hasn't signed his bag yet. Teams are going to want him. Sorry, I was getting a quick sip of water there. I was starting to lose my voice a little bit, but the value is going to be there with Boehm. And Aiden Miller's coming. For those who aren't aware, the Phillies' top prospect, Aiden Miller, natural third baseman, he's rising through the Phillies system. He is. He's going to come, and he's going to have to take somebody's spot. And I think Alec Bohm might be the odd man out. In addition to that, when you look at who's available, Alex Bregman, I think, is going to be a top target for the Phillies. Slightly older, yes, another veteran. But here's a guy who consistently has been a pretty good hitter. Batted 260 last year as a career 272 hitter. And when you look what he did at the playoffs last year and just overall, he's been a beast in the postseason. Batted 375 last year in the postseason. The dude just knows how to win. He's on all those Astros teams. Yes, the cheating Astros, but I think Bregman might be the guy. Marsh is another guy, but I'm okay keeping Marsh around for now. He doesn't hold a super significant role in this offense. He's just a platoon guy, and it's good to have platoon guys out in the outfield to have options. But I think Alec Bohm might be the odd one out. But who knows? Maybe they don't keep anybody. Maybe they don't keep anybody because from what it sounded like, Dave Dombrowski wasn't really convinced that he really needs to make any changes. Let's play the clip. Here's Dave Dombrowski in his end of the year press conference talking about the state of the Phillies.
Yes, I do think it's a good roster. I think it's a good club. I think it's a club that's capable of winning a world championship. We've been close. We won 95 games. However, you're also open-minded to making adjustments. I think that's a necessity. You want to get better. You're never happy unless you win the whole thing, and we didn't win the whole thing. So I think we have a real good core of players. But again, I think we'll be open-minded to see if we can make our ball club better. So that's really our goal in this case. I think we're in a situation where you look at our guys. We had eight players make the All-Star team. That means you have a lot of good players. We're in a position where a lot of when you talk about the veteran guys, they're really good players at this time. But you're always open-minded to making adjustments, however you may need to be better.
So from that, I'm gonna play one more clip and then I'll dive in. But from that, it sounds like okay. At the beginning of the clip, it sounds like okay, he's down the trade, but then he kind of goes into all the All Stars and all that nonsense. I don't care about the All Star team if it's not resulting in postseason success, and it's just not. I'll dive into what he's saying, but I'm gonna play one more clip and then we'll dive deeper. Here's another clip from Dave Dombrowski.
Well, I don't think we need to add more star players. We have as many stars as about anybody in baseball. So I don't think necessarily that you need to add more. And I think you have to be a little concerned. John is very accommodating and giving, but you're also in a position where you're still working with a payroll and trying to make things work for you and go into the future, what you have. And yeah, would you be open to it? Yes, but I think you have to be careful because sometimes it's not only the star players, it's also sometimes the supporting cast. And when you look at it, again, we had 8 All-Stars, right? I know they're not all veteran guys, but that's more than anybody in baseball. We have, when you look at our starting rotation, I don't know that of the top 4, there's a better starting rotation in baseball. When you look at some of the positional players, they're really good. So I don't necessarily think that the answer is always a star player. I'm not saying we won't get one, but I don't think it's a necessity by any means.
So there's a lot to break down in that. And Dave Dombrowski. I was going to talk about this later, but it seems like now is the perfect time to talk about it. Dave Dombrowski is one of the best baseball presidents to ever manage teams. He's won 2 World Series, and he's looking for a third with the Phillies. And although his resume is super, super good, it's one of the best you'll see for anybody in the front office. I think it's time that we need to start holding Dave Dombrowski accountable. I think it's time to start holding Dave Dombrowski accountable. Again, he's a 2-time World Series champion. To his credit, a 2-time World Series champion. Won one with the Red Sox in 2018. And he won his second one, make sure I'm getting this right, won his second one in 1997 with the Marlins. So he's clearly capable of managing World Series rosters, but we got to start holding the bro accountable. Because let's do a quick recap of Dave Dombrowski's tenure as Phillies president of baseball operations. Signs Taijuan Walker to to a $72 million contract. Let's look at the 2023 trade deadline. The major move, when the Phillies were well aware that they had a serious shot at a World Series, they go out and get Michael Lorenzen, who was barely used in the playoffs. 2024 trade deadline. Again, the Phillies running it back and very clear that they are a World Series contender. Who do they get? Austin Hayes. Carlos Estevez. Estevez was okay, but there were bigger moves that could have been made. Layton Thomas was out there. Jazz Chisholm was out there. I wasn't the biggest Jazz Chisholm fan, but I'll tell you what, the Yankees are still playing baseball and we aren't. It's just the fact of the matter. And the big one, Dave Dombrowski's guy, he signs Trey Turner to a $300 million contract over nearly a decade. Let's talk about Trey Turner, then we'll go back to Dave Dombrowski. Trey Turner is starting to become a really big worry. I was really happy when he got him, but he might be a potential problem. He was supposed to come here and be a consistent slot hitter, just get loads of singles and doubles, gets on base, steals bases, a great glove at shortstop. But he's just like the rest of the Phillies. He's just another streaky hitter. Don't let the numbers convince you otherwise. Yes, he batted nearly 300 this year, but all of his hits come in small chunks. When he's hot, he is hot. But when he is cold, he is cold. The chasing at the plate, swinging at sweepers, at sliders, nowhere close. It's almost as if he's deciding if he's going to swing or not before the pitch is thrown. The errors. He was better this year, but he's one of the worst defensive shortstops in baseball. And take note, when Trey Turner hits a home run, someone tell me the last time Trey Turner's hit a home run to center field or right field. Because it just doesn't happen. All his home runs are just directly pulled to left field. He's a pull hitter, a home run hitter, and that's not what we signed him to be. And the problem with this is Trey Turner is going to be exiting his prime very, very soon, if not already. He's 31 years of age, and he's going to be here till he's pushing 40. And if he's already declining now, oh boy, it's going to get ugly here very soon. I don't think he's going to be our shortstop for the entirety of his contract. I imagine he might flip with Stott and then maybe go to the outfield towards the end of that contract. But we need Trey to be better. Whether you like it or not, Trey Turner is going to be here for Philadelphia for a very long time. I'd be shocked if they trade him, because I don't think a lot of teams are going to want him for what he's going to pay for. He's going to be here with Bryce for a while. Those two are core pieces now, and they have to figure something out with him. But back to Dave. He came here to be this guy who was going to be super aggressive at the deadline, get the big boy pieces you need to get over the hump, and that just has not been the case. He's been awfully conservative, and the guys he's been aggressive for have not panned out. Taijuan Walker, Austin Hayes. I mean, Trey Turner to an extent. These were guys that he brought in and was fired up about getting. Like, oh yeah, this is the guy we wanted. We got our guy we wanted. And they have come to nothing. Nothing. And the farm system's there if he wants to trade for it. I'm shocked that we still have all the prospects that we do. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We still have Justin Crawford, Aiden Miller, Andrew Painter. I cannot wait to see Andrew Painter. I do not want to see Taijuan Walker on a mound next year. I know they're going to give him a shot to compete for that fifth starter job, but Andrew Painter better be holding that fifth starter spot. Do not want to see Taijuan Walker. Do not. I cannot afford to just punt away a baseball game every 5 games. I can't do it again. I can't do it. Do not want to see Taijuan Walker anywhere. Anywhere. Where do we go to now? So back to, I'm all over the place because I'm very passionate about this, if you couldn't tell. One of the guys I do want to say is Bryson Stott. Had a poor year hitting-wise, but I want Bryson Stott to be a Philly his whole career. I really do. I love Bryson Stott. We saw what he could do his rookie year and his second year. I don't know what happened this year, but I'll tell you what, that bro can play some good defense. And say what you want. He is clutch. The big triple against the Mets in Game 2, the grand slam in last year's playoffs against the Marlins. He comes up in big moments. The moment's not too big for him. It really isn't. And arguably the best defensive second baseman in baseball. And I think the hitting's really going to come back this year. I expect good things out of Bryson Stott. Do not deal him. Please do not get rid of Bryson Stott, because there's no way they're running it back. I'm so eager to see what direction the Phillies pivot in. So eager. But I really hope Bryson Stott is still part of this team for a long time. So then you go look to the free agent market and see, okay, well, we're getting some new pieces. We already talked about Alex Bregman. We talked about his numbers: 260 career hitter, bat 375 this past offseason. That's a potential replacement for Alec Boehm, which, again, I think Alec Boehm you can get some decent and good pieces for. Obviously, the big name out there this offseason is Juan Soto, and I've of course would love to see him in a Phillies uniform. Arguably the best player in baseball right now, and he's only 26 years of age. He's been so good for basically his entire career, and we have a decent pitch for Juan Soto. Um, but you are out of your ever-loving mind if you think Juan Soto is coming to Philadelphia. It's just not going to happen. I feel like there was a chance starting in the playoffs, but why would he want to leave the Yankees, who are going to give him the money he wants, by the way? Why would he want to leave the Yankees, who are in the World Series, who he just hit one of the biggest homers of recent Yankees baseball memory? Why would he want to leave all that to come to Philadelphia? There's no chance Juan Soto is coming to Philadelphia. I'm just going to say it now. There is a 0% chance Juan Soto will be a Philadelphia Philly. It just doesn't make sense at all for him to leave the Phillies. If anything, arguably the New York Mets are a more attractive destination than Philadelphia. Makes me want to throw up, but it's true. They can offer more money, and the Mets, they beat us last year. Yes, we do have all the pieces from when he started as a National. Kevin Long, the same hitting coach. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner. He was teammates with Bryce Harper for a little bit. Lots of similar pieces, but Juan Soto is going to probably stay a Yankee, and that's fine. If he's not going to be in Philadelphia, I want him in the American League. Do not want to see him multiple times a year. So, Juan Soto is not coming to Philadelphia. I'm just going to say that right now. That ship has sailed. With the Yankees advancing to the World Series, and especially him hitting that home run that sent them to the World Series, he's going to be a Yankee for a long time. He's just going to be. So we'll see where the Phillies go. I don't really know what they're going to do. It's intriguing. They just need to find consistent hitters that just get on base and then just do the small things. Do the small things. We're going to take one more time out. When we come back, we'll recap the Eagles game against the Giants one last time and preview their upcoming matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Bottom Line with JD Dorazio on WSYC 88.7. We serve your community. We'll be back after the break.
That'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
Welcome back to WSYC 88.7 FM. It's The Bottom Line with JD Dorazio. Happy to have you here. Only here with you for a little bit longer, but appreciate you tuning in on the YouTube, on the radio, Instagram, TikTok, however it may be. Happy to have you here. So Yankees-Dodgers World Series, and we're going to talk about the Eagles here in a minute, but I do want to get to some of these questions people have been posting in. Yankees-Dodgers World Series, very intriguing matchup. Again, as soon as the Mets got eliminated, I was able to just exhale. But this is the matchup the MLB has wanted. They're looking their chops at this matchup. The two biggest teams in baseball squaring off. I'm excited. It should be a fun matchup. I know it's kind of the thing to hate on the Yankees, but I really wouldn't be upset either way. I know some Yankees fans personally, so it'd be cool to have them see them be happy. But if the Dodgers win, Ohtani is such a likable player. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, I know he's a Brave for a while, but I don't know, there's so many good storylines either way. I'm just excited to watch some baseball between two juggernauts. It was just hard to watch baseball for all of the championship series, just straight on the Phillies. But now the Mets are eliminated, I think it might be a bit more bearable. So that's my thoughts on the World Series matchup. Thanks for that question, James. And we got one from my boy Nick, one of my best friends. We watch football week. He wanted me to talk about the 49ers being washed. And that's an interesting subject because the 49ers, and this is actually a good turning point, just talking about the NFC overall standings. So the 49ers, who were kind of just the kings of the NFC for a while, kind of the top challenger for the Eagles for multiple years. They're kind of in the gutter right now. They're 3-4, and they're suffering injuries left and right. Brandon Ayuk, he was just ruled out for the season earlier now, just moments ago. It was revealed that Deebo Samuel's still hospitalized, with his illness, and he has no timetable to return. And George Kittle is day to day with a foot injury. So those are their three biggest playmakers, and Christian McCaffrey's still hurt. So the 49ers might be in trouble, and that leads me to the NFC is wide open for the Eagles and for other teams as well. I mean, you look at the top teams, the Commanders at 5-2. The Commanders are legit. They're a legit threat to the Eagles. I think that's going to be they're going to be battling out for the division all season long. So credit the Commanders for rebuilding and being a threat. Seahawks at 4-3. They can be dangerous. Don't count out the Cardinals and the Rams. The NFC North is kind of the division in football. You got the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, all at 5-1 and 5-2 respectively. Then you have the NFC South for the Buccaneers and Falcons. What I'm trying to say is there's a bunch of really good teams, but I don't think there's like the team to beat in the NFC anymore. It's wide open for anybody. So why not the Eagles? Why can't it be the Eagles? They looked good last week, and now they get the perfect step-up text. Okay, you beat the Giants. Or the Giants. Where's the next step up from there? And I think the Bengals are the perfect next man up challenge for Game 4. And but we know what the Bengals are capable of, and you're going to be on the road. So going into a tough environment in Cincinnati, going against Joey Burrow and company, it's not going to be easy, not at all. But we'll see what the Eagles can do. We'll see what the Eagles can do. I'm excited. I expect them to win. If they can just build off what they established last week, they're going to be in this game. They're going to be in this game, and they're going to have a serious chance to win. So give me the Eagles to take care of business against the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's prove that last week was no fluke. That Cincinnati defense is vulnerable. Let's run over them, and then let's just execute the play action. Let's get A.J. Brown involved. Let's get Devontae Smith involved. Hopefully Dallas Goedert's going to be back, and hopefully the Eagles can just start rolling and get back on the right track. Last week was a great sign. Nick Sirianni gets to wipe off the sweat for another week, stay out of the crossfires of Philadelphia and all their fans. But again, though, Nick Sirianni still have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. I think if the Eagles don't make the Super Bowl, it might be if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, Nick Sirianni gets fired. If they make the Super Bowl, they still might fire Nick Sirianni if they don't win it. I don't know. But I don't think, at the very least, if they don't win the NFC Championship, I think Nick Sirianni does get fired. I can say that for certain. He should be counting his blessings that he's even the coach this year. And I'm not going to rule out Nick. I'm not going to rule out this team. They have all the potential in the world to still run the table and win a Super Bowl. So let's see if they can do it. Last week was a great step after a shaky start to the season. Let's build off of it in Cincinnati. And with that's all I pretty much have for the sports talk this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. It was a really fun show. We'll be back next week to talk about the Eagles. We'll probably start talking about the Sixers here soon, who are already dealing with injuries, but we'll leave that conversation for next week. We'll talk about the Sixers a little bit, and if the Phillies have any updates, you know me. I'm going to find any excuse to talk about the Phillies. Maybe we'll try to branch out, talk some more broad NFL terms, but for now, the stomach's growling. It's dinner time. I'm going to go back to the apartment, and I think for dinner tonight we got some hamburger helper. I don't know if there's any hamburger helper fans out there, but that's going to be what I'm having for dinner. So hope everybody enjoys the Monday Night Football games tonight. Should have some good ones. I know the Chargers and the Cardinals are playing tonight. I don't know if there's any other games tonight. I'm looking at it. We got Ravens, Buccaneers, and Chargers, Cardinals. We got a doubleheader, so it should be a good night of football. We'll do some quick picture of those games. Why not before we send off the air? So we got Ravens, Chargers, we got Ravens, Buccaneers. That's a really fun matchup. I'll take the Ravens that one, but would be shocked if the Bucs win. 4-2 teams battling out. Then we got the Cardinals and Chargers. I'm kind of in a more boring game, but give me the Chargers. Give me the Ravens. Give me the Chargers tonight. Let's have some fun. Watch some Monday Night Football. And with that, that's all I have for this week's edition of The Bottom Line with JD Dorazio. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Don't go anywhere. We got more tunes coming up on WSYC 88.7 FM, Shippensburg, PA. We serve your community. But thank you much for tuning in. We'll catch you next Monday at 6 p.m. to run it all back again. Make sure you check out the YouTube page, the Instagram, the TikTok. All the plugs have been said. And now I will finally let you all go. This is JD Dorazio sign off. We'll catch you again next week. Everybody stay safe and enjoy some sports.